Hi everyone, this is Reverend Chris Oldham, and this is the first edition of the revamped Hump Day series that I do every week, every Wednesday. And we are now in the first edition of the CHRYSALIS, which is going to be based on our ascension adventures, news you can use, practical tips, my experiences, where we're going, what my angel peeps are telling me. So welcome this day, and I hope to see you every week on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock on Zoom, or you can watch on YouTube in this channel when I get it uploaded after the fact. So welcome to all of you. Thank you. We are here at 5 o'clock now, waiting for the others that are coming to get here. I'll set up the chat box. And I would hope that as everybody joins, you will sign in and let me know you're here, or use the chat box to comment during the video and this live session. And I'm going to go ahead and put this intro screen. That's not what I want. Whoops, that's not the share that I want. This is the share that I want. So while we are recording and waiting, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording for a couple of minutes while people come into the live. All right, as I said earlier at the beginning of this recording, this is the first edition of what is going to be a weekly, almost a vlog or vlog if you want to call it that, about ascension, what the angels want you to know, clearings, healings, stuff they want to bring you, my experiences, wisdom, knowledge, input from all different places, looking at what's going on in the world, looking at it not just at the ground level, but looking at it from higher perspective to say, well, what is really happening here? What is, with the God goggles on, what is going to happen? Why is this happening from that higher spiritual causal perspective? And more. So and I never know what's going to come up. I have a plan, and the angels have guided me to do X, Y, and Z, but I never know what is going to wind up coming through during any one of these sessions. So it's always worth your while to be here and to receive live and on the air whatever the angels want to give you, because they're always coming up with something. And I know that there is really quite an amazing thing. The Angel Nathaniel is going to come in today. I know that he's working for everybody that's going to be here. And so anyway, having said that, welcome to the first edition of the CHRYSALIS. It's an ascension report from Divine Interventions Ministries. And I'm Reverend Chris Oldham, and welcome all. Today's subject basic main subject is going, you'll have to excuse the wiggling that you see, because every once in a while as I talk, I tend to, to put my hands down on the table forcefully, and it makes everything shake. So I'll try not to do that. But anyway, the focus for today is the many facets of you. And you are, and if you think about that, many facets of you, and it's time for you to shine. Think of yourself as a beautiful, brilliant gem. A lot of people will call themselves diamonds in the rough. Well, honey bunch, we are not in the rough. We are fully formed, wonderful, many-faceted, colorful, shiny, crystalline gems already formed. What we fail to realize is that, one, that, yeah, that's already there, and it's all covered up in a lifetime of ego debris. And that ego debris is what we've got to mine. We've got to dig down through there and clear all of that out. Now, this is nothing new. Y'all know that. We've been doing this for years. But some of us are still hanging on to old habits. And if I'm one of them, you know, I'm not going to say otherwise. That would be silly. And we're holding on to old habits that perpetuate the presence of this debris and keep us hiding. The message that I have got, the messages, a number of the same message that I have gotten in the past week, it's all about authenticity, being ourselves, showing, you know, being able to, agreeing to show that gem, that fully formed, beautiful, shiny gem, many facets, gorgeous, with awesome capabilities, and each facet of the gem just represents another part of our being and another quality of our being ready to shine out. So what the angels are telling us in a big way is that the energies that are hitting us now, they're not playing around at all. Now is the time. We're coming down to the wire. And, you know, in the last week or so, because I periodically ask my team these things, I don't just sit and receive. I have two-way conversations. You know, if they say something, it's like, okay, and what does that mean? Where are we with this? We are about at the 80% point of this fully moving into and residing fully as full 5D and more and above citizens of this planet in our ascension curve. And what that means is, as I spoke about last week, is that all of the myriad number, you know, vibrational frequencies that were present before we really started this ascension push in 2012, the end of 2012, have been winnowed down. You know, the lowers, the amount of lower vibrational stuff that's allowed is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, lower percentages. And so we are getting squeezed into that higher vibration. And that's going to continue, and it's only getting more forceful. And what's that's doing to us is saying, look, you can't hold on to this stuff. By the time we get done with this, we are meant to be fully out picturing into the world our true, shiny, multifaceted, glorious self. Our authentic self in all ways. We are not supposed to be hiding it. Nobody else, you know, nobody else's opinion about who we are and what we do really counts. And I can hear the voices now saying, well, what do you mean it doesn't count? Of course it counts. In my job, when somebody doesn't like what I do, that sure as heck counts. Yeah, yes, I understand that. But that's being remedied too. you will see that that's going to start to change, because and it's going to get worse before it gets better. One of the down to earth things, one of the 3D things that's going on right now is we've gone beyond censorship now in the media and on social media. And it's not just, there's conservative censorship, absolutely. The big tech has it out for anybody with a conservative viewpoint, and expressing those viewpoints publicly on their platforms. But it's also, they are out against anything that would go up against big pharma, right? How long ago? It was last year when they wiped out hundreds of pages on Facebook having to do with holistic health, having to do with anti-vax, having many pages and communities were wiped out because Facebook said, no, we don't believe in that. You've got no hard science to back it up. And you're spreading false rumors that are going to hurt people. Who decided that? Facebook did. Well, now they're getting ready to take another step. And I just saw this yesterday. And this is really scary. And I'm praying that it gets stopped at the gate. And one of the things that they're tinkering with has to do with this social credit score. If you don't know what that is, in China, Google has actually helped the Chinese to institute this using the facial recognition and all of the cameras they've got all over the place, is where in China, they are instituting what they call social credit scores, and they track your behavior 24/7. What are you doing? How are you interacting with people? Are you associating with people who are blacklisted, so to speak, who are politically incorrect? Are you, how are you dealing with other people? Are you helping old people? Are you doing this? How much time are you spending on the internet? If you spend too much time on the internet or in social media, they have so much they can do that right now, if you have if you get points taken off, or on, I can't remember whether it goes up or down, but at some point, you can lose your visa, your ability to travel outside the country, or you can lose all access to public transportation. Your kids can lose access to the best schools. You can have your internet throttled down to really low speeds to hinder your ability to access it. Any number of things that has to do with healthcare, your ability to get these things. So unless you're towing the line according to Chinese dogma, you're going to find yourself in a really bad situation. So, and we can all say, wow, oh my God, that's horrible. Yeah, it is. But guess what? Silicon Valley is now looking at this as a way to regulate social media, giving out social media credit scores, whether they give them to you or they just keep them in the back room somewhere, that will judge our activities online, and we will be dinged for certain things that they perceive or state to be unacceptable for some reason. Total flying in the way of the First Amendment and free speech. So they're aiming right now, they're looking at ways to institute that and incorporate that into these social media sites. Now, the fact that they're looking at that doesn't mean it will happen. I don't see it happening up at this level. I see it getting truncated before it gets to that point. that there's something put in place. The Heavenly Father, God, Almighty, whatever you want to call it, Great Spirit, Divine Source, knows, right? They knew this stuff was happening. They could see this coming a mile away and beyond. So, and this is not to be allowed as part of what's going to happen. That's what I see, is that it's not going to be allowed. Somehow they put things in place that will keep this from actually taking place, because social media really has to be, and our regular media has to be brought back under control and into alignment with the Constitution and the First Amendment. So that's, ground level to higher level. And the higher level, all of this is happening because the more control that the cabal and the dark forces lose down at ground level, the more they are trying to maintain it, and the stronger they're trying to, the more controls they're trying to put in place, just to put a stranglehold onto us, to stop our ability to communicate online and on physical level, so that we receive information, because they know that as long as we're able to look independently online, receive information from each other, they're toast, because we have learned how to dig through the internet to find out the truth of something and what's going on, and then to share it. And boy, they don't want that. So, having said that, how does this fit into your authentic self? It means that even though we can all come up with a million reasons why we are afraid of expressing our truth, right? Coming right out there and saying, this is what I believe, this is where I feel. I have the same issue dealing with myself as a spiritual person and desiring to reach as many people as possible with the spiritual truths and information and guidance and energies and healing that I give, and not wanting to push people away by virtue of my beliefs versus their beliefs. So I try and toe a line. It's not a matter of not being authentic. It's a matter of, is this necessary for this time and place? So I have to look at it that way. Now, eventually, all of this is going to fade. It's not going to be right away. But that doesn't, like in the work situation, if you know you have to toe a line at work, at least for a while, then you do that, what you need to do at work. Your soul knows that, your guides know that. And if that goes against your beliefs and your authentic self, then pray for something else to open up that will be aligned with all of that, and wait for that to come. I would never advise anybody to quit their job and wait for Spirit to give them something. Stay where you are, because Spirit will bring you something always that will help you be aligned with your soul. Your soul is a huge, this shining, sparkling gem inside is extremely powerful. The light contained within you is extremely powerful. Our ego, debris, all of this stuff, our identity continues to put mufflers on that. And that's what we need to be breaking out with, because we can't keep it in. It's going to be falling away from us. We either can voluntarily decide how we're going to do this, to agree that we need to release whatever it is that's keeping us from expressing our truth. And the first step in that is learning, geez, what the heck is my truth? What is that gem that's sitting there? You know, what's in there that I'm not aware of and that I'm not sharing out into the world? So much of this, and I have to say, I don't know if you're getting this from my speaking, but I'm so on fire tonight about this topic because it is time for us to shine. Over and over, I've been getting the message. Open up. Stop hiding. When you think something, say it, you know, or at least don't say something opposite to that just because you think you got to please somebody else. Sometimes it behooves us to stay silent, but we don't have to toe somebody else's line. We can stay silent and do that. But we still have to get rid of all of this debris. We got to uncover that inner part of ourselves so that we know what it is that we're going to be bringing into the world. And that when we speak, we can do so and we act from our place of power, our inner place of power. Our ego is not a place of power, not at all, by any stretch of the imagination. The ego, you know when you're in ego attempts to gain power when you get angry or you want to hit somebody or you just go like that. That's your ego trying to express power. And sometimes the ego uses subterfuge, where you have the little, what the heck's the word for that? Psychological something or other. Psychological abuse, but there is psychological means, undercurrents, saying something the opposite or making you feel guilty about something, bringing up guilt. The ego mind does that really well. And we have to just learn to let go of all of that. There is so much involved with who we are. So what are some of the general things that really are coming up big time now for us to let go of? So the big message, the overall message is stop hiding. Open to being your authentic self, expressing your soul truth. Open yourself up to that. And the first step is just to agree that you want to do that. Just say to yourself, yes, I am open to expressing my soul's truth whenever it serves the highest good to do so. All right, that helps you from not just blurting stuff out all the time because some people just aren't ready for it. So just opening to express that whenever it serves your highest good to do so. And when you open to doing that, you're going to find that all of a sudden this stuff comes into your head, or there are things that you want to do that you just start doing. And when that happens, there's usually not a pre-thought. Sometimes we get what I call the pre-thoughts, where you think about, am I going to do this, or am I not going to do this, or what am I going to do, or how am I going to say this, or this is what I want to say. When it's right and it's coming from your soul, most often it just sort of flows out of your mouth, or you start doing whatever it is. So we need to start from that place of opening to stop hiding, opening to be seen, which is really funny that I know that there are so many of you and myself that have lived for years, most of our lives, feeling invisible and wanting to be seen. Well, now we're being told, honey bunches, you got to be seen. It's time to be seen. And we're all like, oh my God, I don't want to be seen. I don't want anybody to see this. I want to share this. We go into that because the person that we wanted everybody to see was this ego personality and identity that we were creating to please other people. And if they weren't seeing us, then I guess we weren't good enough to please them. We hadn't become what they wanted us to be in order to be seen by them. Well, good for us. Because all of us that have been invisible or felt invisible all of these years have been invisible because we haven't succeeded in molding ourselves well enough to everybody else's ideas of who we're supposed to be. Good for us. That makes it easier for us to just say, well, you know, bag all that. I'm not doing that anymore. Open up to being who you truly are, because doing it the way we've been doing it, trying to please everybody else, to be somebody else's picture of what, you know, Chris Oldham is supposed to be, or Chris Durham, or anybody else, trying to be what somebody else thinks we are or ought to be, hasn't been working for us. So now we need to open up to something that the divine is saying, yes, you know, it's time. You need to open up to this. And it's not it's not like we still have wounds in there and we still have fears in there that are still being ignited. For the most part, they're not as bad as they have been before, because we've been working our tuchuses off to clear that stuff. But we're infected by the collective unconscious and the collective conscious. I mean, you know, those are our families and friends and people we work with, and all of their stuff that kind of comes and gets embedded back into our energy fields again. And so we're still dealing with that coming at us. It's their stuff. It really isn't ours, but it's still here, and there's still a certain amount of resonance with that. So we need to, one, be gentle with ourselves, and we need to know that, hey, Marcia, we need to know, let me get my picture back here. We need to know that it's okay for us to go slow. It's okay for us not to try and do it all at once, because even the, you know, what is left, you know, the 20% or so that's left that we really need to clear out and work on, doesn't have to be gone all at once, because most of that stuff, you know, either it's coming from other people or it's just really deep stuff that has a lot of resistance attached to it. But that's all got to come up, and we have to agree to allow it. So what's one of the biggest things that going on now? If you go on, then the message coming through. So if you go online, anywhere you look, or you go on the news, or you go, doesn't matter, conversations with other people, what is the number one thing that's coming up everywhere? Number one thing.
Racism.
Judgment. This is coming from people who are just mired down in the depths of the lowest vibrational 3D. It's coming from the people who are high on the spiritual planes, the spiritual scale. All right, they're coming from, you know, people, religious leaders who will sit at the pulpit and spout, "Judge not lest ye be judged," and turn around, and there we are, casting judgment about somebody for the ways they act, for their beliefs, for whatever. Judgment has to stop, and it has to stop with us. And a lot of people are kind of confused about, how do you exist without judgment? You know, you have to make decisions about things. Judgment is basically you saying, according to your beliefs and the rules that you live by, that person is wrong. That is bad, bad, bad. You shouldn't be doing that. You need to get punished for that. you need to get out of my home or out of my life or whatever. It is casting aspersions on other people and other things, and beliefs. It is a negative emotional and mental pathway. Judgment is basically saying, well, I know better than you do, or how many other people do. I'm way up here, because, and you're wrong. I know better than you do, and I'm telling you, you're wrong. And the other side of that is people in judgment tend to think they know more and better than other people, that they've got the right of it, that somehow, they have seen or have God's ear or whatever, whether they believe in God or not, whether they have the right of things or not, the way it's supposed to be, and they cast judgment upon other people. It's putting themselves above other people, right? They may not believe that, they may not say that or think that, but that's what's actually happening. They're elevating themselves above other people, because at the root of it, they think that their beliefs and their way of being is superior, and that their knowledge about all of this is superior and gives them a right to cast judgment on someone else. And it's there all over the place. You can look at it, be conscious of it, see where the judgment is. Look at it. It's all the time. It's infecting everything. And that's another part of what I was talking about earlier, about how, the powers that be in the darkness are trying to regain control. And one of the ways they regain control is by separation and division. The minute we start casting judgment on other people, that's divisive. That separates us. My beliefs are right, yours are wrong. You can't be here. We can't be in the same space. You can't work here because you don't believe the same things I do. Because I have judged your beliefs to be wrong and harmful. The judgment again. So let's look at the flip side of this. So how do we operate here? All right, we have to make decisions. We live in a world and a universe of polarity. In the physical, there has to be polarity in order for us to exist and do what we came here to do. People that are going to tell you that when we move into 5D, there will be no more polarity are just plain wrong. We are going to continue to have polarities because we came here to experience contrast. If we wanted to stay all one, we wouldn't have come down here in these skin suits. We wouldn't have left the Godhead. We'd have stayed right where we were. We came down to do this. So how do we deal with this polarity in a Christ-centered, Christ-consciousness frame of being? How do we deal with it? How do we make decisions about what is best for us and what is best, what serves the highest good? How do we make those decisions? Well, that's where discernment comes in. So discernment is not judgment. Judgment is very emotional and subjective. Discernment climbs above it and looks at things from a more objective, fact-based, informational, spiritual place and says, do I resonate with this? Yes or no? Does this resonate You know, for me, does this resonate with truth? Do I believe this resonates with truth, or this is truth, or otherwise, or not? And we make that decision for ourselves. And once we have that discernment of where this thing stands in relationship to us and our highest good in our soul, then we can decide that, okay, we are not going to accept this into our domain, our environment. That doesn't mean we're telling somebody to get out because they're wrong. Totally different thing. We're just saying, no, that's not for me. You can have it over there, and you can, you know, I'm not telling you you're wrong, but this is not for me. You can go and say all these things that you want to say because this is your path and your soul plan, and I have no control over that, and I shouldn't try to have any control over that. I'm responsible for me. You're responsible for you. That's how it works. And I have to, and it's not being selfish, it's being responsible for our own state of being, for our own soul, and for expressing our soul and honoring our soul in all things. That's where the Christed consciousness comes in. That's where love comes in, okay? Where does love stand on these issues when you're looking at two polarities or contrast, you know? You have this and you have that. Well, where does love stand with this? And usually you get a pretty good idea of where love stands, you know, where you need to be, or where your higher self or your, you know, highest good is served in any situation. Or, you know, if it's two ideologies and you're thinking, okay, what about this and what about that? If, you know, follow the path of love. And I'm not talking, again, we're not talking about ego heart love. We're talking about divine love, Christ love. Follow the path of divine love and Christ and the Christ light. You know, follow that path. Which one, you know, puts you into, you know, where are you aligned with on these issues? Okay, what are you aligned with? So the one that pulls you toward it, that feels better, that seems true to you and resonates with you, that's where you go. You discern this. Just like I teach you how to discern, you know, use your higher self and your higher self true signal to help you with discernment by questioning things. All right, is this right for me? Is this serving my highest good? Or is this the best course of action for me? Is this something that would benefit me in any way? But that doesn't include judgment of the other people and the beliefs or whatever. It just says, I've discerned that this is the way I want to go, or I've discerned that although this is your thing, it's not my thing, so I'm going to pass on it, and you move on. And I truly believe that this is the truth of when Jesus said, you know, when a man hits you on one side of the face, to turn the other cheek. I really think that this is the true, deeper meaning of him having said that. And I'm getting a big yes confirmation. It's not that we say, okay, you hit this one, now hit this one. It's you turning away from that. And you know, it's no longer there for you. You know, you turn away from that. You get hit on one side, then you turn away and walk away from it and move away from it. Turn the other cheek. Move away. That's where the discernment comes in. So we have this Judgment versus discernment. And the message has come really strong this week. We need to move into discernment, which is an energy of love. It is a function of love and the Christed light and the Christed consciousness. Discernment. Just because and remember, we can go into discernment and say something and believe it's not for us, and then turn around and say, well, you're wrong because I discerned X, Y, and Z. No, no. You can't do that. Nobody, and this is something else to remember. Nobody is wrong. We all have soul experiences to go through, and we learn from those experiences. Maybe your soul has brought you to a place where you can recognize that this just doesn't work in a Christed individual and a Christed life and a high vibrational life. This just doesn't work in the kind of planet that we want to have and live on. But somebody else may not have gotten to that point yet. They're still experimenting. And so they've got to get to that place for themselves. Somebody can try and teach you when you're little. Somebody can try and teach you how to walk. But ultimately, you're the one who's got to get up off your butt and you've got to move your legs, and you're the one that has to walk and learn what that feels like, what works, what doesn't work. Same with riding a bike. Everybody has to learn the mechanics. They have to learn the experience of it in the physical plane for themselves and in their lives. So let go of judgment. Any questions on that before I go further? Because I've been talking for a while. Yeah, Marsha, Chris?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the next thing that I have been given, and this came up last week, but I delayed it for a week because I wasn't sure where to fit it in. And this is the place that I'm going to fit it in this week. And this has to do with love.
You want to clean yours, or do I need to do it?
This has to do with
Your toilet, or
our love relationships with other people.
They're both getting pretty bad.
If you were on my Divine Interventions group or on Facebook, I put up a post about how so many people come to me during readings and other things and in healing sessions, and they are just pining for love, wanting to have somebody to love them and someone to love, have a partner, have a spouse, have some permanent relationship in that love relationship in their lives. And I always get very sad when people come to me with this, because I can see that the person they need to love is right here. We have to move into a place where we can love ourselves unconditionally. That's another facet of this gem that we have to wipe off. We've got to clean it off, get it the debris uncovered over it. We've got to shine out with self-love. Right? We have to love ourselves so well that nobody else could do it better. And that we really don't need anybody else's love because we've got this. Do we want companionship? Sure. Not saying no to that at all. But pining for love means that there's a lack here. There's a hole here. And while you have that hole and you're looking for somebody else to fill it, it's, you can't, that won't happen. Because until you heal that hole, anything anybody else gives you is just going to go right down through it and out. It's not going to hang around. You're still going to feel the need for love. You're still going to feel lonely. You're still going to feel all of the things you feel now that you think having somebody to love is going to solve, or being loved by somebody is going to solve. It's not true. Won't happen. Classic example, we have, I talk about relationships and ego love, right? We talk about the ego love relationship is one of resonance, deep resonance. And it feels like love because there is this resonance, all right? There are these places of commonality where you both just vibrate at the same level. And that feels like love. There's this comfort factor. Like you don't have to pretend to somebody else in these areas, because you both have these same wounds that you're dealing with, really. And these are the classic codependent relationships. And my marriage, boy, oh boy, oh boy, talk about codependence and resonance, both of us. We got into a conversation one time, and I had been thinking about, okay, what it was that I loved about my husband. And I had a list of things that I really appreciated and loved about him and valued in him. We sat down and had a conversation, and I asked him, I said, okay, so if you had to list the things about me that drew you to you and that made you love me, that caused you to feel, love me, what would be on that list? And his answer was, because you loved me. He was looking for somebody to love him, and nothing else mattered. Well, unfortunately, I kind of had the same thing going on. I was looking for somebody to love me. I was 25, hanging out there, and really hadn't been very successful at any long-term relationships up to that point. And so we wound up together. But we were both two wounded souls, and it didn't matter how much he did for me or how much I did for him. It was never enough, because we had holes that couldn't be filled, because we weren't allowing ourselves to receive the love that was coming to us, because we hadn't healed and plugged those holes. We hadn't said, this is good. I'm going to receive love. I'm worthy of love. I'm clearing and healing everything that is keeping me from receiving love, or recognizing and hanging on to the love that I'm receiving, So we need to be so aware. And I can say anybody who is in their 20s or 30s listening to this may be not ready to buy into what I'm saying, because again, they have that experiential curve to get through. Maybe they have to go into the codependent relationship and wind up with a divorce. If it feels like a soulmate when you're 20, it probably isn't. But it's not limited to people who are young. I mean, there are people in their 60s who are still searching for love, who want to mate. And so you have to be really sure about what it is you're looking for. You have to open yourself up to self-love. And that doesn't mean just taking the right vitamins and exercising. That means giving yourself the things that your soul desires you to have. Do you need to nurture yourself? Do you need time? Do you need to just, sometimes, and this sounds horrible, but sometimes do you need to just not take a shower for a week? Because that's taking away, it just has become like a chore maybe, all right? There are things like this that happen. And there are a lot of people who say, okay, you have to take a shower every day. It's like, well, sometimes in life, our soul and our body and our being demand us to drop the routine. to move away from the way it always was. And that can be one way that we do that. I'm not calling on anybody to just stop taking showers for a week. That's not the point I'm making. What I'm saying is sometimes loving ourselves means recognizing that we are engaging in things that are not helpful to us. And that doesn't just include food, clothes, environment. That includes our activities and our thoughts and the people that we hang around with. Do you love yourself enough to just tell the friend who is constantly full of negativity and downgrading you or other people that they need to stop that conversation when they're with you, or they need to not be with you? That's self-love. That's honoring yourself and your energies and your needs. That's all part of this same picture. This beautiful, bright facet and gem of who you are requires you to love yourself. We all know at a mental, intellectual level that change in the world begins with change in us. Yet we keep focusing on ways that we can make external changes here, 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 and here, without understanding fully that when we make the changes within us that remove the underpinnings of all of these things that we see as wrong, then automatically these things outside of us start being healed and changing and rising up into higher vibrational states. A lot of these things fix themselves. Let's say one example of this is this guy who has come to Baltimore, right, 26 miles down the road from me, with a group of 120 people or more. I think it was close to 200 by the time they had all signed up from all over the country to help out one of the worst rat-infested, trash-infested areas of the city, to help these people have a better state of living. And guess what? Now, all of a sudden, boom, we have cleanups in Newark. We have a cleanup scheduled in Cincinnati. We have cleanup scheduled in cities around the country, because there was a level of self-love and a level of and their self-responsibility with that too, right? It isn't everybody else's responsibility to take care of us. It's not government's responsibility to take care of us. It's ours. So people sitting around in these cities waiting on government to clean up their streets like, they expect them to, has gone nowhere. And instead of picking up themselves and doing it, they have just been wallowing in this absolute horror of existence and just blaming it on everybody else. And so one person looked at that and said, screw this. Let's clean it up. If the government isn't doing what we expect them to do, what we pay them to do and elect them to do, then let's just do it. Let's take that personal responsibility and help our fellow man and help their community. He's going to be back again on September 9th in Baltimore with a second cleanup crew that are going to go through. The citizens of that community loved it, and they want him to return, and they want more cleanups to be done. Is this giving the city a black eye? Well, yeah, it is, but you know what? That's their problem. In the meantime, these things are rising up because, and it's organic. Nobody said, okay, we have to get groups out here to clean up these cities. No. One person said, screw it, I've had enough of this talk. and just made some phone calls and started and put stuff out on Twitter. And next thing you know, we had people from all over the country saying, you're right. I agree with you. Let's come get this done. That's the way it has to work. We have to accept that personal responsibility. We have to accept responsibility for who we are. That's those facets of our gem. More of the self-love. And when we have the self-love, it's easy to send that love out and go do for other people, or send prayers out, or send money, or whatever it is, the resource that we have to give. When we have that center of self-love and that core of power and that Christ light that we're working from, it's easy to share it, to go spread it, to let it come up like mushrooms all over the place. So that's where we need to be. We need to be centered in our own self-love. We need to be saying, okay, what can I do for everybody? Or what do I need to do for myself? What is my soul calling for today? What does my body need today? What does my mind need today? That is one of the things that it's in the angel ministry. There is part of a daily ritual that we did, is to sit down with our cards, a card reading ritual. And we sat with our angel ministry cards. Oh, look at the one who comes up. Now, you can't tell me there isn't spirit at work here. Look at the card that just randomly came up. Archangel Samuel, angel of adoration and self-love. Tell me I'm not on the right track here. I love it when stuff like that happens. Thank you, Samuel. But anyway, we would sit with our cards and we would, spread them out, and we would draw cards. One would be, what does my body want today to be happy? What does my body need? What does my mind need? What does my spirit need? And if any of you do card readings and work with oracle cards, have your decks, then try it. Sit down in the morning and get some insight about what it is that yourself needs that day, is desiring that day for whatever reason. You may be surprised at what comes up. So then the last thing I want to go through today, and Michael, please place a dome of protection around this space and around everybody here who is now and whoever will be. And remove everything from this space that would infect the purpose for which I have invoked this dome. From the space and from everyone in it. So be it, so it is, now and in the future, that their higher selves and guardians are holding space for. Thank you. All right, so I'm calling in now the Angel Nathaniel. Holy moly, Nathaniel, hello. All right, you're one of the ones I get confused all the time. All right. Nathaniel is the angel of God's fire. Now, I have been on fire about this session and this Hump Day video today, this afternoon, getting more and more worked up and pumped up about it. And part of that has to do with Nathaniel coming in for us. We need to ignite our fire. We need to just light up our soul.
Amen.
We need to burn away all the dross and dregs and debris and garbage that are hiding that beautiful, brilliant gem that exists within us. It is us. Forget the skin suit. That gem is us. And so we need to burn away. Now, the angel Nathaniel burns away things with his, we call them the Amfree angels. And the Amfree angels come and take away and burn away, along with Nathaniel, everything that is keeping us from our soul path, that is hindering our ascension and our rising up. And so that's what Nathaniel and his Amfree are going to come here and do today. And is there more you're doing, Nathaniel? Oh yeah, he's got something else too. All right. So he's just going to come and burn away all of these things that do not serve us, that are getting in our way, that we, hi Marcia, that we are ready to release, that it's time for us to release and be free of. He's going to burn away some of the things that are really, you want to call it, the only, I can call it caked on, you know what I'm saying? When you get stuff that is so dirty, or when you're cooking or whatever, you get this caked on stuff that you really have to scrub at. Well, he's going to burn away some of that too, so that when you work on releasing the rest of it, it will be an easier go. Because some of those things that are so deeply held and adhering to you aren't quite ready to be released yet, but it's time for you to be getting ready to release them. And so we need to release this massive, tight grip that our egos have on these things. So I am going to turn these things over now. So just sit back. Right now, let's take 3 nice deep breaths and pull in white light through your crown chakra. Blow it out. And one more. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Nathaniel and his Amfree angels for all of us here and all of us whose places are being saved by their higher selves and guides, now and in the future. Go ahead, Nathaniel. Wow. And some of this may be ego density, some may be entity stuff that's come to us. Whatever it is, just setting Nathaniel and the Amfree free. And if you want them to do whatever that they see is needing to be done for you, all you have to do is say yes.
Yes. Please.
And what I'm getting is that what they're doing is they're not just burning away from the present, they're burning away throughout your timeline. And at all levels, dimensions, and planes of existence and causation, including the oversoul. They're burning this stuff away and leaving it no hiding spaces. There may be even contributing causes to illnesses and conditions that are being burned away. In all our names, I release all resistance to your works, beloved angels, and cancel the authority of all these things in all of our domains. And I cancel all of our agreements, vows, and contracts that have been allowing and supporting this, perceived, implied, or otherwise. throughout the entirety of each of our soul spheres. And so it is. Name the perpetuation devices, Nathaniel, please. Got it. While you're at it, beloved ones, please remove any astral plane and interpersonal, interdomain portals. Burn them away as well, that do not serve. And reconstruct us absent of these things to better them before they ever were, and not allowing them to ever be again. Thank you. All right, beloved Nathaniel, and you're on free. Are you complete? Thank you. There's something else that I wanted to have burned away from us that came to me, and it just disappeared as soon as it came. Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, so one of the things, how are y'all feeling?
Good.
All right, good. Good. One of the things that came to me as I was preparing today, I have had for a long time this internal struggle with free will and things coming to me and disobeying my stated free will decrees and decisions and statements. And no matter what I did, it seemed that, and it didn't matter, it could be entities, could be people, could be collectives, matrices, didn't matter. That I was having a heck of a time keeping myself clear of these things, even through Michael's protections and things. You know, his protection would be up for maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, an hour. Next thing you know, something's coming into me that shouldn't be allowed based on my commands. And this has been very frustrating for me. So as I was thinking about this today and clearing yet again something that should not have been allowed, it came to me that what's going on is that there has been something that was part of the dark grid, and we've spoken about that before, the dark grid that used to be around the planet that is no more, that was ruling our existence for eons. That is no more, but a lot of their programming still exists. And that programming is entered into our matrix at birth. And one of those things that I was shown was introduced to our matrix had to do with a subservience, is the best word I can come up with, a subservience encoding. And subservient to negative things. That this allowed and even brought in negative attachments from all different sources, whether it was negative people, whether it was TV programs, whether it is collectives, the conscious or unconscious, whether it is, a matrix of some kind, or even, dark music letting off nasty stuff, that was either invited or even allowed into our domain, into our inner space, was allowed, whether we wanted it to or not. We had to be subservient to the desire of these other things. We had to submit. Maybe it's a submission encoding more than anything. Yeah, I'm getting that's better, submission. So I asked my team to remove these encodings and everything involved with them from me. I asked them to do some work in the collective unconscious with this, but I also am bringing it to this video, this Hump Day session now, and I'm asking Nathaniel and Michael and Jesus to remove this from every one of us who is now or ever will watch this video and be aligned with this experience and have it given to them. So sit back again, and I call in these beloved ones and ask you all, beloveds, to remove this programming, these encodings, whatever it is that's been put in place, that the submission encodings and all that's come from them. Throughout our timelines, Micah and the Kindle angels to come and repair our timelines and our divine plans as they are meant to be once we are free of this submission encoding. Cleared from our DNA and cell memory everywhere. Throughout our soul spheres. In all levels, dimensions, and planes of existence and causation from our oversouls. DNA and cell memory, our soul matrix, timeline programming, physical and light bodies, everything, even anything in our environment that has been embedded with this encoding. Clear this from us in totality and everything it created throughout our timelines and at all levels, dimensions, and planes of existence and causation. It does not serve us or support us in our soul path. I ask that we be restored as we were meant to be, according to our divine, true divine templates, blueprints, and programming. in all of these corrupted places to support our soul mission and our divine plan in full. To remove from us everything supported this corruption of our matrix. Do it in totality, beloved ones. Leave nothing behind. And if, beloved ones, Micah and your Kindle angels, if our soul plan, our divine plan, called for qualities of submissiveness to be part of that plan, to be part of the soul journey, I would ask now that those divine plan keys be filled in and released from each one of us that is infected and affected by this, to the full extent which it serves the highest good of all and the will of the one true God, divine source, all it is. And that this be removed from our oversouls as well. In all our names, I revoke permission for anything offering resistance to this. I cancel its authority in all of our domains and invoke my authority over these things. And I ask for full healing and spontaneous remission of all of these things. They either get cleared from us now or they get sent into our Merkaba antimatter chambers for full resolution, removal, and healing. So be it and so it is. Thank you. And clear the rest of this, please. Disconnect us from all matrices from which this is coming to us. Remove from us all of this now that is not ours. And make us immune to it, please. Let us have no resonance with this ever again. And let our relationships with others reflect these changes and be brought into harmony with them, beloved Shamiyan. At all levels, dimensions, and planes of existence and causation, past, present, and future on our timelines. And I did that because if we have been of a submissive nature and have been taking care of others and just bowing to other people's will all of the time, if we automatically or suddenly stop and they say, hey, would you do this for me? Or you got to go here and do this that day and do this the other thing. And you're just saying yes, yes, yes. And now you're saying, well, gee, I really can't tomorrow because I've got plans to do that, that, and the other thing. Can't you do it on your way around? There's liable to be some blowback. So we have asked Charmian to install harmony so that that blowback doesn't really occur. Is that there might be a second thought like, whoa, okay. but then that person recognizing that they do have the capability of taking care of themselves and doing these things, and that there's no real reason that they shouldn't. So that's the reason I added that in. Okay, so Nathaniel, what else do we need to do here? Oof. Akashic records, divine plans. All right. In all of our names, I suspend all beliefs and belief systems supporting this submission. Throughout the entirety of our soul spheres, and so it is. Is that taken care of? Anything else? Psychic connection, entity attachments or intrusions, timelines, ETs. Ooh, somebody's got some ET garbage going on here. Dark ETs, Michael? Neutral? Yeah. Sorry about your luck, bud. There is no such thing as a neutral ET. The only reason you're calling yourself neutral is so you can play both ends against the middle and decide whichever serves you best. So I'm sorry, that's not neutral. That's service to self in its highest, most light-filled form, but it's still service to self. So you lose. You're still controlling the parties you're attached to, and you're expecting them to submit to you. Well, sorry about your luck. Not happening any longer. Nathaniel, burn this away from each of the people that are affected by this, and all of their names. I revoke permission for this to exist in their realities any longer, or at any time, past, present, and future, at any level, dimension, or plane of existence and causation. I intend that all contracts, vows, and agreements made consciously or unconsciously with or without their agreement, by them or for them, that have allowed or sponsored this, no longer exist in any reality throughout the universe. They are gone in perpetuity to the nth generation, beyond to infinity, past, present, and future, on their timelines throughout eternities, at all levels, dimensions, and planes of existence and causation. And so it is. Get out. Michael, remove these things, and Lady Nada, remove these things where they need to be, please. To go before the councils of lights and receive whatever is due them for this transgression of universal law and divine law. Thank you. Michael, Shoshana, Nathaniel, please clear and burn away from each of these people everything that came to them, all negative consequences of this ET intrusion and control. Sambafon, please help them gain their power back. And remove anything that remains that is of ET origin or resonance in perpetuity to the nth generation, beyond to infinity. So it is. Thank you. Okay, how are you two doing?
Can you hear us?
All right.
Good.
Good, good,
Good.
good. I don't get that the ET was anybody that's here now. It's somebody that's going to be coming in at a later time. Yeah, there was more than one of these ETs. That's just, and if you ever do any meditations and get approached by ETs of any kind, and sometimes we do, and they want to make some kind of a deal with you, oh, let me connect to you here, and I can do this for you and that to do. This is why I can help you so much. And Pleiadians, I'm sorry to say it, are one of the worst at this. They engage in trickery and deceit to get you to agree to allow them access to you. An ET who is of the light will not blink an eye if they say, usually they don't say, oh, let me in. It's usually, well, look, if we work together, I can do this. But if you say, no, I'm not comfortable with that, then they're like, okay, no problem. One of these neutral ETs will, if you say, well, no, I don't think so, I'm not comfortable with that, they'll try and convince you. They'll keep going. They will keep pressuring you. Absolutely say no and shut them out. Ask Michael to put a cloaking shield around them and be done with it. Because they may or may not help you. They're only there to get whatever it is they want out of the situation. So,
Will you actually see them?
Do I actually see them? No,
Yeah.
I can feel their presence. And
Okay.
the claircognizance, the knowing in my head, and images like in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to see them because I don't care.
Right.
It's like, I don't care what they look like because I'm talking to the inside. And so just, but if you're meditating and your thing is clairvoyance, you may see them. Or if you're in one of those extremely, I don't even know whether to say lucky, unlucky, blessed, or cursed. I don't know. If you're one of those individuals who actually happens to have, a close encounter of the fourth kind, the rules is still, once they get close to you that way, a lot of times the Pleiadians, sometimes when they're if they're really desperate or they really want whatever they think you can give them, they may engage in mental what's the word? Overpowering. They may connect to you telepathically and put suggestions into your mind that would make you more amenable. The bad guys, the dark ETs, they don't mess around. They just shut you down. They just mentally, they'll shut you down, and you'll see stories, and it's true. You'll be physically paralyzed, but conscious, and know what's going on, but not be able to do anything about it. You can't even talk.
What do you do in that situation?
Enough with it, enough about the ETs, but that's what was going on. Somebody that's going to listen to this at some point, a couple of people have these ETs attached to them, and they were part of this submission thing. And so we cleared that out, and I'm glad that we did that so that we did get it done. Yeah, Marcia, what?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Well, can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you, sort of. Wait a minute, let me see where my volume is.
I was just wondering, what would we do in a situation if we had a dark ET and we were paralyzed like that? What do we do?
Well, they don't stay there forever.
Right.
Live
through at the end, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like once they let you go, you can call in the forces of light and say, okay, I didn't agree to this. Take this thing away from me and remove everything that it did. Sometimes, like I have had situations where I have had entities come to me, not necessarily ETs, but I've had entities come to me that in the night, and, you know, they talk about these night paralysis. And stupid psychologists tell people that it's just something that happens. It's a function of the, you know, mind, something going on. They have some kind of reason for it. Night paralysis comes to you when you have entities playing with you. Because you're laying there, you can't move a darn muscle. You may not see the entities, but you can't talk. You can't get any sound out. But you're totally conscious. And I've actually had an entity come to me, one, maybe more times than one, but one that I clearly remember that gave me the night paralysis, and I could literally feel this thing like on all fours on either side of me, pressing down on the blanket on either side of me.
Wow.
And what, I mean, I was basically screaming for Michael in my head, and they try to block that as much as possible. But I eventually got through. And Michael came, and he got released enough so that I could open my mouth and say something, and then call in Michael big time, and cast this thing out for me. So, but I, you know, you can try contacting Michael in your head.
Yeah.
Or your guardian team, you know, help me, you know, I need help here, help me get this off of me. Or the worst case scenario is you just have to wait until they're done and gone, because like I said, they won't stay there forever.
Yeah.
And then you just have to call in the help.
Okay. And you're sure that there was no ET on me?
Yeah, no, you didn't have any.
Okay.
You were fine. And so is Marcia. Nothing, anybody here, we're all good. So, all right, so that's basically what today's meant to cover. We covered that, you know, there are so many facets of us, so many things that are going on inside, and we have to start working on opening up all of these things. We've got a lot of it open, but we worked on one, looking at or opening to receive awareness of who we truly are, what's contained in our soul, the wonderfulness that really is us. And if we're opening to learn about it, we also have to be open to accepting that. If we find we have difficulty in accepting how absolutely awesome we are, then we need to work on that. We need to work on that. You know, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things that stick with us, and we need to work on releasing that from us so that we can more fully open to that appreciation of those wonderful parts of us. Now, there are times, you know, I get into arguments with the angels all the time. People will say, you shouldn't argue with angels. That's negative energy. They don't like negative energy. Look, angels that have been around human beings have seen a whole lot worse. But you know, they're here through thick or thin, and they're here to help us raise out of that. And part of that raising us out of it is that we just have to let it go. We got to express it. We got to get it out from here to out here and just let it go, be gone. But sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes we can dissolve and just release it and say, okay, I'm done. Other times we just have to say, you know, the volcano erupts. And I've had a lot of arguments with my angels about things that, okay, if I'm so cool and blah, 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 and I got all this stuff going on, how come I can't, boom, you know, this isn't happening or that isn't happening.
Last month.
You know, I have that conversation.
Last month.
And usually I'll get an answer. It has, you know, that there's divine timing, or it is, well, you know, you may be cool here, but you got work to do over in this that's blocking that. And so we kind of keep moving. It's an ongoing process. But more than anything right now, this is a really it's really important for us to engage in this, to be consciously, more than ever, really working on this stuff. Now, are all the people that aren't working on this still going to be freed of it and cleared and have this come away? Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, because they haven't got a clue what's going on, and they're going to be in resistance, and they're going to be hit with 2x4s right, left, and crosswise. I don't want to be in that place. Been there, done that. I learned my lesson. Boy, you know, I'm going to sit down every day and say, okay, what do we got to work on today, crew? What what's ready to be cleared? What am I hanging on to? What's going on? And we need to be doing that. Each one of us, and like I said earlier, each one of us that succeeds in letting go and opening up paves the way for the next person and the other person and the next person behind us, because it loosens that binding energy that attaches to us and is controlling and just keeping stuff in place, gluing it to us. So as we release that stuff, it helps others. I did a meme one time where I was in a group. I had a mastermind group that I was part of. And one of the things, we did a meditation one time, and I can't remember what the subject of the meditation was. It had to do with, letting go of baggage and stuff for other women, women's baggage kind of stuff. And the vision that I was given, and it wasn't just for women, but this was the vision I was given, is that, all of us standing, all the women in the world standing in a convoluted line, and every one of us holding on to baggage. And every time, and we're all loaded down with all this baggage, and every time one of us lets go and drops the baggage, thunk, there is a resounding thunk throughout all of these women, because they can then let it go too. They can drop it too. So everyone that we let go of helps the next person to let go of. You can almost hear thunk, and then it's thunk, because it can be done. It can be released in multitudes. So, all right, that's basically it for today. Any of you have any questions for me before we sign off today?
I don't. I don't have any questions. I think it was perfect. It kind of goes with some things that I've been experiencing personally in the last week or two.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. It was awesome.
Thank you. Well, that's kind of what this new series, this new way of doing this is going to do. Is it's going to be kind of a little vlog or weekly roundup of spiritual happenings and events and needs, the things that the angels bring to me every week that we need to deal with, because it's just going to be current and ongoing as we move through the ascension process, with the things that are being, that the angels, that everybody, that spirit is saying, okay, this is where we are and where we need to continue to concentrate on moving through, right, as we get squeezed up that pipeline where, we're getting closer and closer into having nothing but 5D and more in there. And as we get closed in there, remember, the more uncomfortable all these lower vibration energies are going to be. We're going to be really miserable when we get attached to them or access them in any way. So we really need to consciously be clearing this stuff out and learning where we're attaching to it, and asking for our guides' help, or if anyone needs my help to help identify these things and help clear them or release them so that you can continue the work and get it done, you know where I am. So having said that, Marcia, how are you doing? Any questions?
I just thought I was late getting here, and I apologize. I just thought it was wonderful, and especially when you did the part of clearing the subservient attitude and Nathaniel came in, it was like I could feel this webbing coming off of my kind of like the solar plexus up in through the throat, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got while I was doing that your fibromyalgia is tied into that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that maybe we'll get a little bit of relief there in that. So
Yeah. Well, my cat just loved the energy. She she just came up and I mean she gave me a bath on my face while it was going on, and she just was just goo goo. I mean her eyes were closed and her head back like she was just in heaven, you know. It was
I'll
really
tell you
neat.
what, the cats love it. Cats love this energy. Absolutely.
Oh,
Not so much. I
she
don't know
did. She
why, but yeah, the cats just love it. All right, everybody.
So I felt more in my legs, like like a throbbing in my legs, both legs actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
lugs.
well, wherever it
legs?
was, wherever you're holding on to it, because anything from our hips on down that we're holding there is keeping us, it's
Mm-hmm.
because we're not moving forward. It's keeping us from moving forward and holding us
Yeah.
back. So we have that tug of war going on in our legs. We want to move forward, stuff holding us back, and we just sort of can't go. So that would have been one of the things that was going on there with the subservience thing. You wanting to do your thing and holding back because of being submissive to other things. So, and submissive to the fibromyalgia,
Oh yeah.
right?
Well, there comes a point when you just have to give in to it.
Yeah.
You hurt so bad, there's nothing you can do but just cry and give into it, you know.
Right.
Because you've
Absolutely.
done everything. You've done everything, you know.
Yeah. So, and it isn't
Have
about
you heard of a fascia blaster?
The round things.
Yeah, no.
It's like it looks like an old school bathtub claw.
No.
Look, I have a few, and they have really changed my pain game
Oh, good.
in my lower back. So, and I think that I've heard of people using it for fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And are you using it
I think that's one of the big things.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I wish you continued relief with that, and hopefully some of the things that were done here today will also help release some of those things from your body.
Well, thank you so much.
Perfect. Yeah, my legs felt lighter after the process was complete. I didn't have as much throbbing.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well, one more thing. Where did you get the fibroblaster, honey?
Fascia. You can Google it and it will come up. The lady's name I can't remember, but if you Google fascia, you should be able to find it.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Chris. It was just
You're
awesome
welcome.
today. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Chris.
You're welcome, ladies. Thank you for being here, and for all those who aren't here at the live but will come later. Bless you. Thank you for being here and joining me, and I hope you receive all of the healing that was sent out to you today at that time. Bless you all, and I will see you next week.
Bless you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.